Story 1. Time will pass and everything will get better. If you leave this relationship, nobody will love or want you the same way, and you will end up alone forever. 9 years later, I finally found the courage to leave and accepted that being alone is better than being in a relationship that is detrimental to me. Story 2. Good advice from Naval Ravikant. In any situation in life, you have three options. You can change it, accept it, or leave it. What is not a good option is to sit around wishing you would change it but not changing it, wishing you would leave it but not leaving it, and not accepting it. That struggle is responsible for most of our misery. The phrase I use most to myself in my head is just one word: accept. Story 3. It will get good again. That's what I told myself. She was amazing the first couple of years, and she will be amazing again. Next thing you know, you have been telling yourself that for 10 years. Story 4. No one will want them except their current partner. They believe they cannot find anyone else who could possibly love or care about them because of the reason they think they are unlovable or do not deserve love. Story 5. With time, it will eventually return to being what it was when you were enjoying the relationship. Otherwise, you may be alone forever if you stand up for yourself and that person leaves you. Story 6. I can change them. People can change, but they have to do it on their own terms. That can be heartbreaking when you want to be the person who supports them through that, when you see so much potential in them. A few years down the line, they might be able to change, but you cannot waste your life waiting for that. Story 7. If we reach a certain point in life, things will change. Now, moving into a new place will not change things. Having a better paying job will not change things. Story 8. I was wrong too. It is okay for him to feel this way. He will change. I can change him. Everyone is different. I need to adjust. He will understand. Story 9. If I can find the right way to communicate the problem, he will finally understand where I am coming from. Once he understands, he will try to change. Story 10. Where did he go, the man I met in the beginning, the one I fell in love with? I am sure the loving, affectionate man who initiated talks about our future, who shyly planned thoughtful dates he knew I would love, who expressed wanting to get to know me, who asked follow-up questions, whose hopes and thoughts for us made my heart flip. The little things he did that showed me he was thinking of me and how I fell utterly in love with that. The man I met in the beginning is still there, somewhere, surely. He hasn't gone, has he? Why would he do that? Where did he go, the man I met in the beginning, the one I fell in love with? Story 11. I thought, I do not want to break his heart. It turns out he was just as ready to end the relationship as I was. Our communication was non-existent. Story 12. I used to tell myself, I will not find better. I did not find better or worse, but I found peace being far away from that situation. Story 13. Sunken cost fallacy. I have already stayed for a certain amount of time. It is not worth holding on and avoiding starting over. Starting over is worth it. Story 14. People change. They do, but in my experience, not in a relationship and not for anyone else but for their own benefit. Story 15. Love takes time. Can't be rushed. I was with my ex for a year and a half, and I wondered why I didn't love him yet. Who knew that being in a relationship just for the sake of it was a bad idea? I broke up with him after I asked if he loved me. He told me he cared for me but didn't love me, so I said goodbye and he got mad. 2 months later, I met my now husband, and we knew within 3 days. Story 16. But they need me, it will break them if I leave. No, they do not, and they have lived their whole life before you. They can live after you too. Along with this, I cannot live without them. Yes, you can. Story 17. Personally, I've told myself, I love him, it's fine. This is just what a normal relationship looks like. No one is perfect. I'm lucky that someone loves me enough to stay. Story 18. Something I used to tell myself was, just a little bit longer. I'm sure they are just going through something. Turns out he indeed was not going through something, but was going inside someone. Story 19. The butterflies I have in my chest and stomach mean this one is for me. Butterflies represent nervousness, not safety. Safety is what you need. It is butterflies you want to avoid. Story 20. If I can fix what is ailing them, Maybe they will be able to love me again. Very often, this is not true or safe. Story 21. Nobody else will have me. There is always someone out there who will treat you the way you deserve to be treated. It might take a lot of effort to find them, but they are out there. Story 22. I am the breadwinner. What will happen to them if I leave? How can I guarantee they will be able to survive after our relationship ends? Story 23. I am the only one who truly understands them. That is not an excuse to stay in toxic situations, whether or not they understand their own behavior. Nor do you have to put in the emotional labor for both of you. Story 24. They used to love me so much. I know deep down they still feel the same way. I just need to try harder to deserve their love. I used to try so hard. Story 25. They don't understand her like I do. She didn't mean it the way it sounded. I am 4 months out of a 13-year relationship with a horrible narcissist who treated me very badly. My kids, my friends, and my family all disliked her but put up with her because I was so in love with her. Unfortunately, I still love her, or at least the romanticized version in my head. The truth is she was extremely difficult to live with and extremely difficult to be her partner. Story 26. Starting over and being single again would be too hard, since they have invested time and energy into their unhappy relationship. Story 27. I am just insecure, anxiously attached, jealous, and overthinking. My intuition is screaming at me that this is all wrong and I am not emotionally safe here. Story 28. Oh, they really do love me. This is just a mistake, a phase, or one bad thing. Otherwise, they are a really good person. Story 29. They will change. Mom lived that lie until Dad finally died. He used and abused her even on his deathbed. Story 30. No one else will love them. They might not find the exact same type of love, but they will find someone who will love them. Story 31. For sure, any variation of the sunk cost fallacy. According to Google Artificial Intelligence, the sunk cost fallacy is a cognitive bias where individuals continue investing in something such as time, money, or effort because they have already invested a lot, even when it is no longer beneficial or rational to do so. This occurs because people are hesitant to abandon a project or relationship, fearing that it would mean wasting their previous investment. Story 32. They will change. It will get better if this one thing happens. No, it will not change, and no matter what happens, it will not get better. Story 33. I think I have overreacted to the situation. Let me calm down. Then your partner starts abusing your patience. Story 34. Staying together is better for the children. Maybe sometimes, but if you hate each other and constantly act like it, and your children watch that every day, odds are high they will develop issues. A baby will solve all our problems is another misconception. Story 35. I have to show the children that at least one parent loves them and is good. Spoiler alert. The longer you stay, the more you lose yourself and end up being the opposite of the kind of parent you wanted to be. Story 36. If I put more of my time and effort in, they will see it and do the same. They will not. Putting more time into something that is not going to work will only take time away from you finding something better. Story 37. People justify the abuser's actions based on what the abuser has gone through in their life. I only started realizing this when I imagined how I would feel if, instead of me, a friend was in a similar situation. I would definitely tell her to leave. That simple advice gave me the courage to get out, as I was blinded by the excuses I made for him. Story 38. Once we change ____, it will all be better. ____ is just a placeholder for the real issue you haven't addressed, and once ____ is fixed, that issue is still there. Example, once I get the promotion, we won't be so stressed. No, you're stressed because you're incompatible. There are plenty of couples who manage financial stress without fighting. Story 39. I was with a narcissist and have borderline personality disorder. Maybe it is all my fault. It is my responsibility. He is not at fault. It is me. Story 40. Has anyone ended a relationship with the perfect person? For them because they felt undeserving, only to return to an abusive ex? Story 41. My neighbor has a very controlling, domineering husband who watches her every move. She insists it is because he loves her so much. One day, I blurted out, "No, it's because he's a controller and you're letting him do it." She looked away. Some months after that conversation, he left her and their 4 children for a work colleague with whom he was having a fling. Unsurprisingly, he came back, and she took him back, but this time under her own terms. Some time later, she told me that she didn't realize the truth of what I had said until he was gone. He is a quiet man now, and she is in charge. The whole family is much happier. I do not know how he feels, and I do not care either. Story 42. I always thought, when he gets a bit older, he will calm down and realize he wants a normal, stable life. Mind you, he was 23 and I was 16 when we met. I was 26 and he was 32 when I finally ended the relationship. Maybe by 40 he will mature, but I cannot stick around to find out. Story 43. He did not really mean it. I know he loves me. Things will get better. I walked into a door. He is just misunderstood. Story 44. But I love them. That doesn't mean you need to stay with them. I still love some of my exes, but we were not good together, and we both realized that over time. I still care about them and want what is best for them, but what is best for them is not me, and what is best for me is not them. Story 45. They did not mean to do that. If you are an adult, you should have complete control over what you say and do. A traumatic past can be an explanation for some behavior, but never an excuse. Story 46. They will change. If you are saying this to yourself, then things are already bad and that person has not changed for you. If they have not decided that how you feel about them and your relationship is enough to change, then they are not going to. Sorry. They might change eventually, but it will not be while they are with you. Story 47. I am not good enough as a partner, and I have to try harder for them to love me. Story 48. I need a better reason to break up than just not being in love anymore. Could be worse. No. Once the love is gone, it is gone. Leaving is kindness to all parties involved more often than not. Story 49. Do it for the children. I dislike that phrase because parents in a bad relationship almost always have a more negative impact on their children's development than parents who just get divorced. Story 50. A lot of scary things here, but I will say, this is just how it is supposed to feel. I was settling, she was settling, and we called it love because we did not know any better. It is okay to stay in something safe and stable, but I had also thought that was the same as love. Story 51. Maybe if I try harder, they will see and change for the better. No, they will not. It will only burn you out. Story 52. My biggest struggle is not knowing how to emotionally distinguish the difference between they are a good person, just human, so they make mistakes, and, oh, they actually hate me. Story 53. Their families and friends, like the partner, do not want to let them down, which is especially significant when canceling a wedding because people have spent money on flights and other arrangements. Story 54. He will not kill himself. Abusive partners may use suicide or self-harm as a reason to stay, and it is a tactic that works well on people who are empathetic. If you are struggling with this, know that you are not responsible for someone else's problems and you are not obligated to stay. If you are really worried, nothing is stopping you from breaking up and requesting a welfare check. Story 55. Only I know and love this person as I do. They have their problems, but I love them anyway. Someday they will open their eyes and realize that. Story 56. The things that make a bad relationship are inevitable and irreparable. The only way out of a bad relationship is to break up. In reality, many people do mature and improve themselves. Story 57. Eventually he will change and want to commit. No. If someone has an avoidant attachment style and is afraid of commitment, he will never commit. You can stick around for years, even reunite years later after breaking up, but until they have done the inner work, nothing will ever change. Run. Story 58. I just have not shown enough affection, love, proof, or support. If I can do more, they will finally see me. Story 59. It's an unconscious lie. but the measure of my love for them is my tolerance. Relationships that depend on tolerating poor or substandard behavior are unhealthy relationships. Story 60. Eventually, in my case, she will understand that it is not okay to hide me. She will change and it will get better. Newsflash. It did not. She kept me hidden for her best friend. When I spoke about it, she broke up with me and, you guessed it, went to her best friend 2 days later. Story 61. Maybe I need to change my communication, attitude, appearance, and mannerisms so I will not receive that type of response. It is always my fault. Story 62. I'm compromising and pretty soon they will see it and do the same. No, they will see that taking advantage works and continue what you allow. Story 63. The idea that people can easily change others is very difficult to achieve as an individual, especially when experiencing a bad relationship. I saw it with my female friend who was being abused by her boyfriend. The man was belittling her, hitting her, and more. She believed she could eventually change him, but the situation worsened until she finally escaped. Story 64. I told myself many times that I should not overreact. I needed to be calm and patient, understanding, compassionate, and try to help as best as I could. Story 65. He is majorly depressed and has suicidal thoughts. He needs me. I am going to save him. He is going to get better and recover from this, even though he has refused to get help throughout our 3.5-year relationship. He stopped working during the last year we were together to become a YouTuber. He is just suffering. We will get through this and life will be beautiful eventually. My idiosyncrasies are annoying and disrespectful. I need to work on myself and be more self-aware so that I will stop breaking his boundaries. I am a poor communicator and need to keep the peace so that I do not upset, anger, or annoy him. His happiness is more important than mine. I have demonstrated a lot of selfishness throughout this relationship by not considering him. He gets very upset when I do not express my needs, but before I can ever do that, he says he will never do such a thing. I feel I should accept this and remain silent. I misinterpret his tone and words when he lets me know I have done something he did not like. Once again, I broke boundaries. He is not really being mean. I just have childhood issues and am immature for feeling hurt every time he sets a boundary. I just love him so much. I cannot imagine being with another man. He has always been my what if. He finally chose me. I cannot ever go back to being single and out in the dating world. I will feel like a failure if we break up. I am in my mid-30s. Everybody else is married. I will have to move back to my farm, and my family will judge me. I cannot handle the embarrassment and judgment. He is really struggling in life. Even though raccoons are destroying the inside of the attic, he will eventually get the roof replaced. Insurance will cover it fully. It took 3 years to get the roof replaced in the past. It was not my house. I should have never lied about flushing a couple of tampons down the toilet, which caused a backup in the bathroom. I was scared of his reaction. He will never trust me again. He could think I am cheating, although I never would. It only takes one lie. I had been paying his mortgage, bills, and groceries for 13 months while he sat on the couch, refusing to get help. He was in an accident toward the end. I packed a hospital bag and found a box of condoms in his office. He probably uses those for masturbation. He is a germaphobe. I then became his caretaker for a few weeks after the accident, and he was very mean to me due to the pain and medication. I should have understood that he was confused and not attacking my character, but I am human. I began to break. Y'all, adult singleness is a beautiful gift. Story 66. We both need to do better. I need to do better at loving them the way they need. This is my depression trying to isolate me by leaving a relationship. It is not real. Story 67. Believing everything is your fault. Sure, we should all be reflective on our actions. In order to have a healthy relationship, a lot of personal growth is required. But if you notice that you went from being confident and content before the relationship to now feeling like you are a burden or too emotional, it may be because the person you fell for is not who you thought they were. Most people are rational. When we fall in love, it is generally because we already evaluated the person from a more logical perspective. However, if you are innocent and naive as I was, It might come as a shock that some people will play the long game and lie to you about who they are and what they value for several months before revealing who they really are once they feel you are in too deep. When you recognize this deep change and start to feel like the issues are your fault, and you find yourself crying in your old church parking lot debating between buying things to end your life or calling the suicide prevention hotline, just know it is not you. Breaking up hurts and it is painful no matter what, but do not let the relationship break your will to live. Story 68. The main beliefs are that things will improve if people try harder or that love, effort, or devotion will change them. Another common excuse for bad behavior is blaming a person's past trauma. For example, they are only like this because their father abandoned them as a child. It is not their fault they did not have a good role model. Story 69. But I love them. No, you do not. You love the version of them they presented to you in the beginning. Get your facts right. Story 70. That the other person loves you as much as they can. He is just being humorous when he insults your intelligence. Story 71. I can fix her. She will learn to emotionally regulate. She said sorry when she shouted at me unreasonably in front of my friends for the 100th time last weekend. She admits that was unreasonable but also made excuses to avoid taking responsibility because it is really my fault when she gets angry. All relationships require work, and this is the work. We can work on the bad parts, and the good parts are good enough to stay for and to sacrifice my friends for and to sacrifice my family for. Brother, when are you going to stand up for yourself? Story 72. For me, it was, no one will ever love me like they will. Then, once I learned to love myself, I stopped caring if others loved me. It was freeing. Story 73. I can change him. Note to self. Female, the moment you try to tell yourself this, your relationship is already over. Story 74. We have good times and bad times. Healthy relationships do include both, but having good days as the bare minimum and bad days involving full-blown abusive behaviors is not healthy. Story 75. Somebody does not treat you right, but they have reasons, such as having bad parents or other circumstances. I made a million excuses for my mother as an example of the way she treated me, but now that I am an adult, I realize that nothing she did warranted how much she hurt me. Story 76. She will change, brother. She will not continue to abuse me physically, mentally, and emotionally. She never changed, and I was physically assaulted numerous times. Story 77. My parents went through worse, and they are still together. My grandparents were stabbed, thrown, and fought constantly, and they are still together. My great-grandparents were very traditional and strict. They stayed together forever. It is kind of strange. She was very angry and resentful at the end. I wonder why. It must have been the cancer treatment affecting her. I think this is what a good marriage is supposed to be. Maybe if I let her cheat, it will not hurt so much. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.